I am the brand. So how I am presented is important. But that's one thing I would tell myself as a younger person is you don't run a real estate team. You don't run a sales team. You run a marketing company that also sells real estate.
All right, welcome to the Mark Faris Experience. We have Amy Flowers here. Amy is a real rock star in the real estate community. She has a team of 18 team members, and she does about 150 million in sales each and every year. So she's one of the top, and I want to have Amy come in and talk a little bit about how she built her business and some of the things that she's done to get there. So welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is an honor to be here chatting with you.
Yeah, no, it's great. And we've had so many conversations through the years. And one of the reasons why I wanted to start this is because there's so many like tips and nuggets that we talk about and share when we're networking. And, you know, that's now we're actually going to be able to capture it and get that out there so other entrepreneurs can learn from, you know, some of our key lessons and kind of war wounds that we've had through the years, right, to be able to get to where we are, right? But yeah, super excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, very cool. Well, why don't we go back to when you started and what actually got you into real estate? Because you actually have a marketing degree, right? You went to school for marketing, and then you take us through, you know, graduating, and then kind of what actually got you into real estate to start your own business.
Well, if you go back, it was 2001. Real estate was very different back then. Getting into the business, thinking, okay, I just want to be my own boss. I want to do my own thing. That's what started it. But then getting into real estate and realizing this is very I focused, very me focused. That's what I noticed in 2001. It was all about me and advertising me, and it wasn't about the client and the client experience. You didn't see that a lot. The other thing you didn't see a lot of was teams. They really, in Canada, they didn't exist. They didn't exist back then. So taking what I had learned at school, I don't have any corporate experience, but learning from corporations and how they specialize and how they have the client first, that resonated with me. And I thought, you know what? We can do this differently. It doesn't need to be little house, little head in the newspaper. We saw that all the time. Right. Little house, little head, little house, little head. Like that's just, it doesn't need to be that way. Yeah. So that's where I was like, you know what, let's do something different than what everybody else is doing. And that's how it started.
Wow. Yeah. I always thought about real estate as we're in two businesses. One is a relationship business and the other is we're in a marketing business as well. Right. So that you had that marketing background was huge. But you had something that was at the foundation of any relationship building business, which is you wanted to do a better job, which was like that genuine love of people. That was interesting. You saw an industry that needed maybe a shakeup in how things were being done, and you really wanted to do a better job for them. So that was the key, we'll say, desire of what actually got you in. You wanted to do things better.
It really, you hit it right there. It is. When you think about going through this experience back in 2001, one person, being the realtor, would be responsible for doing all of the different aspects of the real estate transaction. They would be the photographer, they would be the designer, they would be the marketing person, they would be the creative writer, they would be the data processing, the negotiator. There's no way, I thought, and I'd stand by, there's no way that one person can be good at all of that.
Right.
And also, I feel that there's no way that one person would enjoy doing all of that. So I thought, why am I going to go and do things that I don't love to do? I don't love to process data. I don't love doing that. I don't love the interior design part. That's not me. So why am I going to go and do that? So that's where we started building the team and bringing on people who love to do those things, allowing them to do what they love every day. I get to do what I love every day, and the client benefits from it.
They get better overall service.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go back to before you started building the team, because I want to get there for sure. So you're working on your own, you get your license. Take us through the early struggle phase to be able to, get your first client and then get to a point where you can actually afford to hire somebody and bring somebody else on. But that early struggle phase, take us through how that was for you and, what actually got you through that.
Okay. What got me through that, I was married at the time, and my husband was also in business with me. So that was helpful. I worked at the business full time. He had a full-time job with benefits. So that was that was a huge...
You had some income coming in. Yeah, that was good.
That was helpful.
You don't get paid until you actually get a sale, and then you have to wait for it to close. So it could be up to 6 months.
It was
window. Yeah.
Literally 6 months before I got my first transaction. And thank God we had a little nest egg started, and then we had his income. So that was helpful. So what was the question again?
Yeah. So what got you through? What kind of action did you have to take in order to get, you had your license to getting to a point where you can actually hire somebody and to have enough transactions? Those first number of transactions, how did you get there? And then how did you build up enough to be able to bring on and build a team?
So that was perseverance, was that one. Doing what people told me to do. So coming out of school, I was used to taking direction from people and just doing what they said. So I went out and found different training companies, whether they're being from local or they were from the US, and learning as much as I could and taking pieces of each one of them. And so the first one was teaching you how to sell. Real estate courses don't teach you how to sell. So
they scare you a little bit, on the legal side, don't do this, don't do that. But to get your license, they don't teach sales, which is interesting.
So that was the first lesson. And then once I learned how to sell and how to talk to people and get my point across. Anyway, once I got to be able to talk with people, then it was grinding and doing the hard stuff every day, making those phone calls every day. And then it grew from there.
Yeah. So you had that early struggle, you persevered. You had your husband's income coming in, which would just kind of keep it going for enough until you were able to.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you persevered. You took a sales course, which to me that is one of the best things and some of the best advice that I can give, because you get your license and then you really don't know how to you definitely don't know how to run a business, but you don't even know how to market, get sales, or even how to build your service out. Right? So taking some education, but then the key I'm going to underline this multiple times, is that you actually took action on what you learned and then you implement it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So the first year was learning how to talk to people. The second year was learning about branding. And that was huge. With a last name like Flowers, how do you not brand that? So we were one of the first in the area to brand the company. It was no longer a little house and a little head anymore. Now we're advertising a brand. And that really took off. All of the things that they said in that course and in that conference I went to, it was all true. And I just did what they told us to do, and it worked.
That is one of your huge strengths that you have, Amy, is your ability to market. We never talked about this, but Royal LePage had a competition, a marketing competition, if you remember back in the day, that you applied for, and you actually, was it Royal LePage? They actually had a competition, and you applied for it, and you actually won the competition for marketing with your Flowers brand. Do you recall that?
I remember them putting it up on one of the conferences we went to. I remember them putting it up and talking all about it. Yes.
Because when I'd actually applied for that as well, because I think there was some sort of sponsorship or bursary or there was some sort of extra course that you were able to you would win if you actually got this. And I applied for it when I first started. There was it was tuition for some extra credits for Royal LePage's marketing center. And I remember you actually won that, and that was a big deal.
I beat you out in a competition.
You did, and You know, and I always remember that at the beginning, because the flowers marketing that you have is genius, using your name and then how you've been able to connect that together. And it's something that's memorable for people to, you know, think, okay, real estate flowers, right? So
Thank you. I have always thought that we are a real estate company. Yes, we sell houses, but at the base of it, we're a marketing company. That's what we do. That's our job, is to market. And then the sales and the negotiating comes secondary.
Yeah. That's so good. No, very good.
I think that if I were to say, okay, what would I tell myself as a younger, when I was thinking about all the questions that you were going to talk about today, and that was one of the questions, what would you tell a younger self? And it was a hard one. I couldn't figure out I don't know. Because I wouldn't really change anything. But that's one thing I would tell myself as a younger person is, you don't run a real estate team. You don't run a sales team. You run a marketing company that also sells real estate. That's something I wish I would have clicked in about 10, 15 years before.
And what do you think would be, when you say a marketing company, what are some of the main things, say, a business owner should be focusing on when they think, okay, I'm going to do marketing really well? What are a couple things that, if you could really focus on in marketing, that if they did well, that, you know, they would be successful in the business? Is there anything specific when you say marketing that they should really be focusing on?
The first thing that comes to mind is you are the brand. I am the brand. So how I am presented is important. So in the early 2000s, we didn't have to worry about social media.
Right.
But now you do. And so how you're portrayed on social media is important. I've heard from clients before, oh yeah, I wouldn't use that person over there, or I wouldn't use that person over there, because I see what they talk about on social media and I see their brand on social media. So I think that is the first place to start, is clean up your act.
So good.
I have my girlfriend, my neighbor of mine. She is a neighbor of mine. She's really high up in Pepsi. And so when Pepsi got their new, I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but when Pepsi got their new CEO a few years ago, my girlfriend was responsible for the HR part, bringing this new CEO to light, and bringing her to the marketplace. And the first thing that they did is scrubbed her social media completely, because you can't have certain things on there if you are the brand and you need to be representing.
And this underlines such an important point as a leader, especially if you're leading a lot of people, that whatever you do, social media, even if you're out talking to people, you're buying groceries or whatever, you represent your company, and how you act is how people will feel about your brand.
Yes.
And, you know, creating emotions from branding, that is something that's really important. And if you're out on social media and you're bashing other people, or you're not dressing professional when professionalism is something that you want your brand to stand for, it's not, people are going to see it's not connecting.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Social media wise, one of the things when I first realized that my actions had an impact on our brand was with regards to social media. Like most people, when I traveled, I like to post pictures about it, just pictures about travel and about going to the beach or about going to wherever we went to. But the way that I run our business is that I travel a lot. Because we work 24/7, it was important to me to build in breaks. And some people have cottages, some people, they take the weekends off. I have what I call mini vacations. And so if we were doing that once a month and going on a little mini vacation once a month.
And how long would a mini vacation be?
3 to 4 days. So a long weekend.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing that once a month, other people don't understand it. And I would get reactions from people. It's like, oh, are you in town now? Like, you're never here. Like, do you ever work?
Yeah.
You must get paid too much money if you're going that many vacations.
Right.
Actually, I think we ended up at the same vacation one year.
Yeah, that's right.
The year that you made Royal LePage's #1 in Canada.
Yeah.
I remember that very well. But anyway, so that was when I was like, oh, okay. It was a big realization to me of my actions. And I was innocently posting photos about our vacation, but they negatively affected the brand because of people's interpretation of it.
Interesting. Yeah. And you know what? It's so important. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. You got to be very careful in how you're, your personal life and how you're posting. What's also good is that you're actually still taking those mini vacations because you're recharging yourself along the way to stay sharp for all those other days as well, right? And so that's where it's the power of masterminding with other really top producers. You get an idea or some, we'll say, insight from other top professionals. One thing that I actually picked up from one of those roll of page retreats was actually taking off between 4 and 6 during the week. That was actually Paula Mitchell had given that. And so she said, you know what, Mark, ever since I got in the business, super high performer as well, just like you. And she said, by me taking 4 to 6 off, it was interesting how things would just flow around that time. People were driving home during that time and they were fine. I could either book it after or before. And she said that was the one thing that was such a good investment, not only in my family, but also in the business, because it forced me to get my work done before 4 o'clock. And it then allowed people to book after for evening appointments as well.
100% agree with that. That used to be the Oprah hour.
Yeah.
It depends how old you are. Oprah used to be on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, good.
So that's your time to just chill and relax, have dinner with your family. Yeah. And then if you're going to work in the evening, then you can do that.
Yeah, very good. Okay, cool. So how many years did it take you before you hired your first?
Paula's good. So Crystal's taken over Paula's business.
Okay.
And she's partnered with her cousin. And they're doing well. Still working out of the Brampton Caledon.
And it still is under Paula's name, or is it the Mitchell team?
It's Mitchell, and then whatever her I don't know what her cousin's last name is. Sandalus or something.
Okay.
Like that. So it's the two.
Okay.
And Paula's retired, and she's
she retired.
Yeah, she has a place in Turks, right by where we were in Turks, like literally up the beach.
Yeah.
So I've seen her there a few times actually. Actually, we're going back in November. We're going to Turks, to the Ritz. Yeah. And Paula's like, I'm going to be there when you guys are there, and we're going to hang out. Like, done. Let's do this.
Good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were just talking about hiring. So now let's go back to you're working on your own. How long did it take you to actually hire your first team member that you brought on?
So that was pretty quick. And again, it sparked from a training session. So this would be the third training session that I went to. And it was all about how much are you worth per hour? That was my number one lesson that I took from that. And how much are you worth per hour? So I did the math, and I'm like, I'm worth a lot of money per hour, or depends on when it was. Maybe it was, so once you figured that out, it's like, well, okay, no, there should be things that I should not be doing. Cutting my grass is one of them. So I made a list. What are all the things that I could delegate? And once I filled the page, I realized, okay, I need to do this. Unlike other people, I'm a jump-in first person. So could I afford to hire my first assistant? No.
Right.
Did I anyway? Yes. And I didn't hire, it wasn't a part-time thing, it was full-time. And it's just, we'll figure it out. Like, we're gonna do it, and we'll figure out how to pay for it. And we did.
So good. And who was that? What was your first hire? Was it an administrative, marketing agent?
Administrative, for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Nowadays, I would have an administrator / marketing person, or maybe just a marketing person. But back then, it was an administration.
There were enough responsibilities that you were doing that you could delegate, and then you could take the remaining time that you had and double it down on your higher producing activities.
That's
right.
exactly what it was.
So if for the listeners out there, how you take your worth per hour, you take 2,000, say you work 2,000 hours, you take how much income you made from the prior year and you divide it by 2,000, you have your hourly rate. So you did that, and what ended up happening was you took action. And that is such a, we'll just say, it's a very consistent theme that I see in super successful people is they have an idea in their head and they just boom, they're taking action and they figure it out.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage to do that though, but I don't know, maybe we're just wired a little bit different as entrepreneurs. I don't know.
I think that's what it is. Yeah. Whether is the risk taking side of it and the excitement around change. Yeah. I thrive on change. I love change.
Yes.
Change scares so many people. I know that. But I personally love it. And I think that's a big factor.
Yeah. No, that's good. I remember our first hire as well. It was scary. And we interviewed 5 people and then we narrowed it down to 2 and then we picked one and we told her, like, listen, we're starting you with 30 hours a week and you know what, we'll see if it goes up to 40. And we said to ourselves, you know what, we're going to hire her for, we'll say 3 months is what it was. And if it doesn't make sense after that 3-month time frame, then, you know, we can always go our own ways. Now, we knew we were bringing somebody else in and the family was now depending on us. So it was like, that's not even a possibility. We need to actually make this work. But in our minds, though, it helped us because, say, if it was a $40,000 salary that we were paying, 3 months was only $10,000. So it was a $10,000 decision, not a $40,000. So it helped us kind of chunk it down, the risk. Mm-hmm. So, you know, for the entrepreneurs out there watching, like that may be a good, we'll say, exercise to go through.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you hired somebody. Now you start to scale up the team. You're at 18 team members now.
Yes.
What were some of the key kind of lessons you learned along the way from going from 1 team member to 18, where you have 18 team members where everybody specializes in what they do really well? And so you can go into a client's home and showcase everything that you do, which, you know, like you had mentioned it earlier, a single agent can't do everything extremely well. You can't be an expert at everything. Even if you were, you don't have the time to do it. Mm-hmm. So you have 18 team members that specialize, that can offer incredible service for your clients. What are some of the key lessons that you learned along the way from going from, you know, working on your own, how you hired your first team member, now you're at, you know, 18 of you?
Mm-hmm. Letting go was one of the big ones that I know a lot of people have a hard time with is, well, nobody can do it as good as I can do it. And I think that's very limiting, and I believe that's actually not true. So hiring the right people who can do something better than you can. I think that was a big one. We focused on systems first. So I looked at it and thought, okay, well, if someone's going to come and work for us, why would they want to work for us if we can't provide them something of value? So my something of value to the team members was providing structure and a system that they would want to come and work with and work in. So there was that.
That was good. I love that. Thinking about not only from what are you looking for, but what's it in for them?
That's the basis of anything, of why would someone want to come and work for us? Anyway.
No, that is such a key, I mean, with any sort of relationship, but it ties into hiring team members as well, is we need to create a win-win situation here, because they need to decide, they're making a decision to come work with you. It's not just, if you're hiring somebody and all you're going to do is give them a salary, well, that's not enough in today's market. It's like, here's everything else that they're going to, you know, they're going to get culture, they're going to get, you know, they're going to have, we'll just say, overall training from somebody that's, you know, developed and grown a business as well. And that is such a key point there for entrepreneurs that are watching out there, is the fact that when you are bringing on other people or forming any sort of a relationship, it's like, what's in it for them as well. I love that tip.
Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be the core of just everything team, is what is in it for them, whether it's a client or what's in it for them with regards to a sales team or anybody on your team.
Yeah, so good. Very good. So when you're a team leader, you're an entrepreneur, you're overseeing many people. There's a lot of decisions you need to make on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you go about decision making? Like, what are some of the filters when you're making decisions along the way? Do you filter through to be able to have quality decisions. Do you go through any sort of kind of filtering to be able to make the best decisions on a day-to-day basis?
So I don't know how exciting you're going to find this answer, but my personality profile is I make decisions very fast, and I'm very confident in the decisions that I make. So the answer to that question is no. I don't have any type of filtering process, or it is a gut feel, and it is a, like you ask me any question and I'll be able to answer it today and like, no, yes, or we're going to do it this way. And my brain works so fast that I've gone through all of the steps and all of the things in my head so fast that I can come up with a pretty concrete answer, and I'm comfortable with my answers usually. So I don't know if that's really a good thing to.
Well, but what you do have, and based on our relationship and the hundreds of conversations we've had through the years, you have the gift of discernment.
Yeah.
And that is something that you just instantly know. Joanna, my wife, has that. It's like, I'll bounce an idea off her and it's like instant, she knows.
Some people might think that, oh, she didn't spend the time to go through it and really think about what I said and weigh the pros and cons. Yeah. But I can tell you, I know Joanna, and there's no way that she hasn't gone through that in her mind. She did, but she just went through it really fast. Yeah. And she knows the right answer. Yeah, no, and for me, generally for me, I'll take the information and I need to think on it a little bit, and I'll take it to Joanna, and it's like instant, and I'm like, some of the insight, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's genius. And there's times where she'll give advice, and I'd say like 90% of it is like bang on, and there's 10% that maybe she needs more context and whatnot that I have, right? But together, it's really good. But that discernment gift is something that is real, and you have that. It's not something that can be learned either. That's just something inside of. That's just how you're wired.
Yeah, and you have it goes back to when you started. The reason why you got into real estate, because you wanted to do it better, because you had a genuine love of people at that point as well. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important as well when you're able to make quick decisions. You're always thinking what's best for the client as well, right? Mm-hmm. And by going through that, you can make those decisions quick. The other actual benefit of making quick decisions is the fact that you get a fast feedback loop. Mm-hmm. So you make a decision, you see what the results are, and then you can pivot and move. And you'll smoke somebody that takes forever to make a decision, right? Yeah. And because you have multiple feedback loops of results rather than just theory.
Right. You have to be able to accept the fact that not everything is going to go exactly the way that you want it to go. So if it goes off a little bit, you can pivot and change. Yeah. And having that acceptance to change and thriving in that industry, in that environment, I think that's what's going to make things go quickly, and success comes about faster because you can change.
So good. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so some of these decisions, I'm sure there's been some failure along the way. Yes. Can you share a failure that you had and maybe what you learned from that along the way, from starting from nothing to running a multi-million-dollar business?
So one of the things that I was always longing for is a partner in business. And I would look at you and Joanna, and I would look at some of the other top teams, and they had two people at the head. And I thought, I want that. I want a partner. I don't want to do this by myself. I've said that many times. I don't want to do it by myself. And I have tried a couple of times to bring that together, to bring in a partner. And it hasn't worked. It hasn't. It's been at least twice that this has happened. And why it hasn't worked, I'm not fully there yet. So probably it's me. I have to say, it probably is me. But there's probably other factors as well that attribute to that. But what I've learned is I don't need a partner. I know I don't need a partner. I wanted one, but I don't need that. And to stop trying, to stop and just accept the fact that no, people look up to you people look up to me for what we've done so far and continue on and be the greatest team that we are with one figurehead instead of having that longing for two.
You know what? Well, you look at the most successful companies in the world, right? You got Apple. When Steve Jobs was around, when you think of Apple, you think of Steve Jobs, right? When you think of Amazon, you think of Jeff Bezos, right? Elon Musk with Tesla as well. There's one face, right? So I think you're onto something there. I think, but the other thing with that as well is that you thought you needed one thing, right? But I think this is such an important nugget in business is that sometimes you're going down the road and you think you need something, but you need to be able to reflect and know when to pivot and stop going down that pathway. Because some people just keep going down that pathway and they keep eroding down their brand because they think it's the right thing, but the feedback is coming back that this isn't meant to be, or this isn't, we'll just say, the best thing for the business, or the market is not responding to what I thought was right. The market is telling me, it's interesting. The market sometimes tells us something completely different than what we thought was true, right? But the market dictates what real truth is, right? Clients, right? They'll tell us if it's working or not.
Oh, they will. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. So now super successful, again, multi-million-dollar business. What are some habits that you've implemented along the way that have resulted in, we'll say, a lot of fruit that you would recommend to entrepreneurs that are starting?
Figuring out how to take downtime is one of them. So we were talking about, I do it in the form of mini vacations. Some people do it in the form of going on or going to the cottage. Some people do it however they decide to recharge, realizing that is an important part. Strength is important to me. So like fitness has always been important. No matter what my physical weight was, it was always important to me to go to the gym and be strong, strong muscles. And then getting everything done early in the morning. That was for me. Yeah. I like to get things done before 3:00. After 3:00, I'm not at my peak.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's like I got to get it done early because like even noon for me and after. No, it's got to be early, and I find I'll book all my meetings in the afternoon, and that all my like deep thinking work needs to be before 12, even before 11 o'clock for me. So if I can get up and get going at like 6, and I can kind of plow it through to 11, then generally. Yeah, I'll just put my earmuffs on and get into my deep thinking, but that's so true with me as well.
Yeah.
That's great. Recharge time, that's so important because, you can run, when you first start, you can go 7 days a week, but you can't do that for too long or else you'll just burn yourself out. Yeah. And as you start scaling up as well, you start to, we'll just say, if you're in the weeds on a day-to-day basis and you don't slow down to think and zoom up higher as to what's actually happening in the business, you can be working really hard and all of a sudden you're going into a wall and nobody sees you're going into a wall. You need the leader to zoom up, slow down, and actually look, what does the business actually need? And I don't know about you, but in my downtime, sometimes I'm just in the shower and all of a sudden I'll get this idea because I'm not in the weeds, doing, in the business. I'm like more focusing on the business. Right.
My time is when I'm doing my hair. And I've said that for years.
Yeah.
And if I start a sentence by saying I was doing my hair, then something's happening.
good.
Yeah, something's coming out and it's happening. And the girls are like, oh, she was doing her hair. Like, yes, the hair dryer is on, so there's no noise. Nothing's going on. Like you can't, there's no lawnmower going on outside. There's no alarm bells going off. You can hear nothing else. And you're doing the same repetitive motion every day.
Interesting.
My mind just, it goes into creative places. And that's when the best decisions and the best ideas, they all come when I'm doing my hair.
So good.
Yeah.
You get the ideas like, blow dryer, stop. I can write this down. Where's my phone? I gotta write this down, right? Capture it. Wow. That's so good. Okay. So you build a business is tough. I mean, it's grueling and there's some days you feel like giving up. And when you're in those like low times, because as a business owner, we all go through that, and it gets lonely at the top. It's tough.
That, I think you should emphasize that point a little bit. It does get lonely at the top.
Yeah.
Because there aren't people necessarily that you work with every day that you can bounce ideas off of. That's why these type of relationships between Chairman's Club members or between top producers is so important, because we need people like to, I had this issue. Nobody can relate in my sphere at home, but I know if I call Mark, or if I call Joanna, or if I call Patricia, they'll be able to understand and be like, yeah, let me help you out here.
Yeah. No. What keeps you going when you're in those low times? Like you had mentioned, calling another top producer, which is wonderful. Was there something that you go to when you're in those low times to keep you going? Because most people would just give up, and Steve Jobs said, you got to really love what you're going to do, because like otherwise most people would just give up. And it's so true. As Elon Musk, I shared this before, but starting a business is like staring into the abyss, chewing on glass. That is something that it's tough. So for you, is there anything that like helps you get up the next morning and go back at it?
To me, it's change. So the only way that I think that you can keep doing what you're doing and do this business is if you love what you're doing. So that's why I took away a lot of the things that I don't like to do. I only do the things I like to do, which is good. And then my thrive for change. So if things are low and I'm not feeling great, I'm going to shake it up. I'm going to do something different, whether it's change a system back at the office, or whether it's change a way we market something. That's how I stay motivated.
Love that. Yeah, change and keeping things new. That's really good. What do you think are some quality traits of a great leader?
When I was driving up here, the answer to that was understanding your core values and really bringing them forward. I think that the risk tolerance is important, having a good risk tolerance, and the adaptability to change. I think those are really important aspects of it. Taking a break for 1 second, one of the things that is the new buzz that people are talking about, at least in our circle, is how many of us, and I don't know if you want to even go there, but how many of top leaders have ADHD. And that's something that that I don't know if it's kind of too new to talk about, or too holy darn it, like we don't necessarily.
No, it's because it's real, and you know what, and that's what I think most people they want out there, is they want for people to be real, right, and not to be like trying to hide things. It's like, no, wait a second. In order to get to the next level, whatever challenge, like we all go through challenges, and it's just like, let's just, be real with it. And here's how I deal with it. And actually, this has actually helped me.
Right.
And seeing it as a gift, right?
Huge. And I think the issue where I see as an outsider, who admittedly has ADHD, and I embrace that, but it took a while to do that. But as an outsider, I feel that many people aren't aware of that yet. So I could look at a sea of top producers, and probably 70 to 80% of them do have it, but they don't know they have it yet. So they haven't necessarily tapped into all the great aspects about this issue. So it's a whole, to me, it's a whole conversation on its own.
For sure.
So it might not be something that you want to bring into this topic, but today. But anyway, something to think about.
To me, whatever you're going through, there's always two sides to the story. There's a glass half full and the glass half empty, right? It's like the two sons that were brought up by a drunken father. Father beat both sons equally. He was drunk. He, beat up his mom. Financially, wasn't a good role model. and really was a horrible upbringing for both of them. They grew up, and one became, we'll say, a failure, drunk like his father, beat up his wife, and then the other one was super successful in business, family, man, and they asked both of them the same question, is like, what made you like this? Right? So a failure, and the failure said, well, if you knew my father, you would turn out like this as well. Mm-hmm. And then the other one said, well, if you knew my father, you would turn out like this, the successful one as well, right? Mm-hmm. And so there was the same scenario, but they saw it in a different light. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a trait in top producers as well. They see the facts, they face the facts, the brutal facts, but they also see the glass as half full, or where's the silver lining in this scenario? I'm like, okay, let's learn from it and move again, right? And so it's a good point to be able to identify, and then also to know that you've seen that now as a real positive, and seeing it that way, and using it to your advantage. It's good, very cool. What kind of investing advice would you give to we'll say a new entrepreneur? So there's like early stage, which is just putting food on the table. And then you get to a point where you start making more income. And then through the years, you start making a lot more income, and you got to figure out, where what you should be doing from an investing standpoint. So what investing advice would you give the entrepreneurs that are watching?
First, invest in your own marketing. That was always at the very beginning. But I'm going to say the same things that were told to me in my 30s was invest in real estate, buy one house per year. And I didn't start until I was 40. And I wish I would have started earlier. Right. So the same old thing that was said 15 years ago, that's what I would say to somebody, the same thing.
So good.
Invest in real estate.
Invest in yourself. And invest in real estate. You said your business as well, which is smart.
That's a guarantee. That's a given. You have to do that.
Yeah, that's great, because the returns on investing, in your own business as well, and seeing what those returns, that's great. And then it comes to a point where you have access, and it's like, okay, what is the next thing? And real estate. 90% of millionaires use real estate as their vehicle, right? And so that's wise counsel. And I've heard the same thing through the years as well. And that's been my experience. Okay. So what are you excited about moving forward? What is, when you wake up in the morning, it's like, I'm excited about this now.
Okay. Well, my answer was going to be I'm excited about AI and where it's bringing us.
Okay, cool.
So where it's brought us already is that just being in the marketing side, things are very different. You don't have to spend hours copywriting anymore. We literally hours doing data sheets and literally, so we would spend hours doing write-ups. I think I remember talking to Joanna back in 2008 about write-ups. Who does your write-ups? Do you have a ghostwriter to do them? Do you do them? Does a salesperson do them? Everybody hates doing write-ups. AI does them now. So in the short period of time where AI has brought us to where is it going to bring us in 2 years, in 5 years? To me, I'm excited where that's going to go. And because I don't know. I can't foresee what that's going to look like.
And so, but you're using it today. You're using it to help you with your write-ups, and you're actually implementing it in your business today. Yeah. Well, this is something that if that's happening today this quickly, like you had mentioned, in 2 years, where we're going to be, and it'll be interesting from an overall industry, but overall business, nobody can deny that it's going to change fundamentally how we do things.
Yes.
Right.
It really is. Yes. I think that the real estate in general has changed dramatically over the years since 2001. And it's going to continue to change. Yeah.
Very good. So what, if you're speaking to, you're speaking to entrepreneurs out there who say, okay, they want to know a little bit more about Amy. What makes Amy Flowers great? Like, what differentiates you from, other businesses, or we'll say agents in your marketplace, on why a client should work, a buyer seller should work with you?
Yeah, so me or
Your team. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Why should somebody work with you?
They should come and work with, sorry, why our clients decide to work with us is because at the very core, our goal is to make their life better, whether it's getting them more money for their house or getting a better experience for them. This is one of the most difficult times in a person's life is selling their house. And so our job is to make that as easy as possible. And we've perfected how to do that. We're very good at what we do. And I think that comes through and people are aware of, they see that. And it really does come from a true, genuine love for doing a great job for people. The acts of service is, when that is at the core, right, money comes. The focus is not ever, oh, I can do this and I'll make this much money. It's never that. It's, I'm going to do good. And in turn, that's the result. Yeah.
Yeah. And the results speak. You're the top agent in Milton area. We've referred lots of clients to you and we always get raving reviews back. So you've been a real master of what you do for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. You ready for rapid fire?
Sure.
We got 3 questions here for you. First off, what book has been the biggest impact to your business in a positive light?
Coming from a systems side of things, the E-Myth Revisited, that was huge for me way back when we first started. That was a big one for us. Great book.
Okay. In 3 different words, how would somebody explain you that's in the business with you? How would they, we'll say, describe Amy Flowers?
So what I would hope that people would say would be genuine, strong, and tenacious.
So good.
But what I think what I know that they say is tenacious, resilient, and intimidating.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. So and that, would that be, so you'd have a team member that would say intimidating, or would it be in general?
In general, yeah.
Interesting, because I can see if I first meet, because you have an abundance of respect that I see when you're out there and you're operating in business mode, is like you are a powerful businesswoman, right? And so I know a lot of people look up to you, and there's it's interesting as a leader, respect and intimidation. It's like intimidating. It's like, to me, I see you as like immensely respectful, respected. And that's something because you conduct yourself with such like authority. And so that's how I would define that last word as well, just from what I know of you, because you've earned that from, through the years. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And when the intimidation word comes out, because it has come out almost my entire life.
Wow. Yeah.
When that word comes out, I take it and I internalize it as respect.
Yeah.
But the word that is the common word that I hear. Tenacious, yes, but intimidating is the number one thing.
I'm sure when they get to know you, they like after like the first 5 minutes, it's like Amy is, wow. She's gonna be my protector, and I'd want to hire you to. Amy's got her back. She's gonna protect, and she's gonna go fight my battles for me, which I think is a real gift. Yeah.
That means the world that you just said that, because that is my number one core value. And when you do my exercise and figure out exactly what my core values are, that is my number one.
So good.
Is protection.
Yeah.
That is my job, is to protect my staff, to protect my clients, to protect my family, myself. Yeah.
That's so good. And that's what I found the best real estate agents or guides, right? Just like we'll say, I don't know if you ever watched The Lord of the Rings, but Gandalf the Grey, the wizard, protected, the little hobbits, right?
Yeah.
You got Mr. Miyagi there that's protecting the Karate Kid, right? And, Mick, he wants to protect Rocky, right, as well. So it's interesting that the guide is, that they're the protector of the hero. They want to look after them, and they also want to grow and get the best for them as well. So that's good. So good. Very cool. Okay. And we got our last question here is...
1 second. Has anybody asked you what your 3 words are?
So my 3 words would be, I'd say focus would be number 1, determined, and I'd say loving is there along with the persistent side of it. The loving side is more of just loving people overall. And I think that's something that is, my wife and others have said that as well. But
that comes across just in knowing you on a social level, that comes across. Then you genuinely care about other people. And when you sit and have a conversation together, you're invested in that conversation. Right. There's nothing else that's going on, and you are truly interested in what the other person is saying. And and that comes across every time.
Well, thank you for that. So, okay, well, we could talk about this. We can go really deep on this, but this is really helpful. Last question I have for you is, what advice would you give your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Knowing what I know now, one of the few things that I would give advice, because I wouldn't change anything. I believe we are who we are because of our experiences, but having the understanding of you have a marketing business, not a sales business. If I came at it from that side earlier on, I think things might have been different and tweaked just a little bit. And having that realization later, I would love to have had that realization a little bit earlier.
Very cool. Okay, great. Well, this was an amazing talk, Amy. I really appreciate you coming. For the listeners that are right there listening in, how can they find out more about Amy Flowers, and how can they find out more about your team?
flowersteam.ca is where you can find us on any platform. And you can reach out to me personally if you have questions or you want to have a conversation about growing a team or about the Milton real estate market. I'm happy to answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. That was great. Thanks for tuning in to the Mark Faris Experience. Come back to our next episode where we speak with the most successful business owners on how they grew their business and how they grew their wealth. We'll talk to you soon.